It's acres and move makers. It's acres and move makers. I deal with land flippers, acres and move makers, room shakers, big boys with huge paper, the newspapers. You can run but can't escape us. We winning with these flash green when they act racist. Success is so contagious. Let's go. It's acres and move makers.
Welcome to Land and Legacy. My name is Ray.
My name is Jay.
And we are
the Acre Boys.
Today we want to talk to you about a topic, and that topic is it a good idea to buy land in a bad neighborhood?
Now, you got to remember, right, ever since we started our journey, when we were buying tax deeds, right? Now, tax deeds are some of the properties that we were acquiring in the beginning were not necessarily in some of the best neighborhoods. When you hear us talk about when we were investing in tax deeds, when you hear us talk about we were buying properties for $50, clearly those properties are not located on Melrose Place, right? Those properties are typically located in the hood or areas that are not the best as far as what statistics will call it, right? But here's the number one thing that I would say about that, right? If you see people that live inside of that area, that is a clear indication is that other people want to actually live there. Just because you, like yourself, just looking at these properties and say, and you're looking at the neighborhood or whatever the case may be, and just having an insight and saying that I would never buy anything to actually live there. However, that does not mean that you can't invest there, because I can tell you right now, we have bought hundreds of those properties in so-called places that are less desirable, and we have sold hundreds of those properties inside of that area. So basically, when you're an investor, you have to look at it from two angles, right? The two angles I would look at it from is, number one, how does the area look visually? Now, if you say that area doesn't look good or whatever the case may be, there's also other data points that you can check. How fast are properties selling inside of that market? Very, very, very key, because even if it's not intriguing to you, doesn't mean that it's not intriguing to somebody else.
My take on that is when you start to think about a bad neighborhood, what is your definition of a bad neighborhood?
Right.
From a business standpoint, I think you have to look at it from the financial threshold. So I would say anything to where the people are making less than $24,000 a year is going to be considered a low neighborhood. Then it'll move up to the next tier, 24,000 to 50,000. That's going to start to average out to somewhat average neighborhood. And clearly, once you start getting upwards over 50 to 100, the neighborhood starts to look a little more better. The housing prices start to increase some the higher that you go. I think that's common sense. So, but as for me, my direct answer to that question is it absolutely makes sense for what we do. For whatever your end game is, you would have to say, does that make sense to me? As Jay stated, if you're looking to hold on to property or live in those areas, that may not make sense, because typically most families have children, and most families are looking for places that's safe and are looking for good school systems. And clearly, when it's not a well-to-do neighborhood, the school rating is usually a lot lower. Not usually, almost 99% of the time is a lot lower in some of these neighborhoods. But for us as investors, it absolutely made sense when we can come into some of these neighborhoods and pick up land for $50, pick up land for $100, for less than $500. Let's just say that, when you can pick up land for less than $500. And I'll share to you one of the places that we had great success at, and that was Little Rock, Arkansas. Absolutely love what Little Rock, Arkansas was able to do for me and my partner. We were able to pick up pieces of land there for dirt cheap, amazingly cheap, $50, $100, $200. And every piece that we got, we bought a lot in the state of Arkansas from their auction, first and foremost. But Little Rock, which is in the county of Pulaski, we could not hold on to those. And at one point, I'm not sure if they still are, but at one point, Little Rock was the murder capital, right? But that property over there, we never had a problem selling that property. Now, are we selling these properties for top of the line prices? Absolutely not. But what's top of the line prices? What's the ROI when you're paying $50 on something and you're selling it from anywhere from $1,800 to $3,000. Myself personally, I'll take those flips. That flip, that's like a 10x, some cases 20x on your money. I think any investor, to be honest with you, would have no problem, 20x in their money on these deals. So it was highly favorable to us, and we find that a lot of other investors, they shy away from these places. So for the Acre Boys, it is where we got our start, and sometimes you have to get in where you fit in at. It was the perfect denomination for us as far as financial and how much money we were risking to put out there. It was perfect for us at that beginning because we were in the beginning stages. We moved on to do a lot bigger deals, so that model doesn't really make as much sense to us these days. However, to be totally honest with you, even these days, if I ran across some $50 buys and it was some land
and it made sense,
for
sure,
I probably would still buy them. It's just that the auction kind of dried up and got highly competitive. A lot of people start coming to there. So the $50 buys, no, to be totally honest, they switched up how they do their auction and run their auction. So those $50 buys is different now. They have a bid process. So we shied away from that. Before, you could just go and buy them for $50. It was no bid process. If you saw it, you wanted it, you paid your $50 and you received it. So the short answer for me is it made sense. I think buying land in bad areas, that's not the only area that we've ever bought.
For sure.
Bad land in. We've tested this model in several
areas. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And we find that in these bad areas, the competition is a lot less. People are not fighting over this land. For me, I would say if the land checks out, when I say checks out, I mean things like, does it have road frontage? Are there other homes still built in these areas? Even if they're bad homes, are there other homes? Is there electricity on that road? Where's the electricity? If everything checks out on it, and we can at least triple our money on it, because when we buying in a bad area, we're not buying in a bad area to just double our money.
For sure.
But if we could at minimum triple our money on it, then we may consider it.
Yeah, for sure. And I always believe that hindsight is 20/20. It was a point in time we were buying those tax deeds in Little Rock, Arkansas, in the surrounding neighborhoods. We were buying so many of them, and he just kept on wanting to buy. I was like, wait, we got enough. Let's sell what we got. Now, keep in mind, that's why I said hindsight is 20/20. We did not have a problem selling any of those properties. I wish I would have listened in the beginning and bought more, because we were making crazy ROI based off of what we call entry-level land investing, which is the tax deed philosophy.
So, drop in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this. Interesting topic. We see a lot of people in other comments that commented on other videos. They don't like it. They don't think it's a smart idea. Then while on the other hand, there's thousands of people that think it's an excellent idea. Absolutely. It works for me. Drop in the comments if this would be your model at those prices. Would you buy in some of these bad neighborhoods? Keep in mind, a lot of these neighborhoods are just waiting to be gentrified. So buying now and holding is not a bad idea in some of these neighborhoods, to buy and wait for it to turn around.
That's right.
And other investors come in, and they always turn around at some point. We don't know when. Quick story before we get out of here was we did a training, and the lady bought her stepmom bought the property in Florida.
Yeah, right.
But she bought it
Florida. Yeah, right.
20 years ago. In a subdivision. It was a paper subdivision. We'll talk about what a paper subdivision is on another video. She bought it for $100.
$100, right?
She asked us, can you take a look at this property for us and tell me what the value of it is? 20 years later, that same $100 had inflated to $70,000. She was ready to sell now 20 years later. She didn't even know it had got to that price. Property directly next to it sold for $77,000.
$77,000, that's right.
So 20 years later, that same $100 had turned to $70,000 plus on that property. So that's what I mean about sometimes is buying some of these cheap properties, $100, $200, $300. It's not costing you anything less. It's costing you less than sometimes $30 on taxes, sometimes cheaper than that, sometimes $20 on some of these properties just to hold them for the year. May be a wise idea. Drop that in the comments as well. Let us know your thoughts on this whole topic. I think it's a real interesting one. This one right here, to be or not to be is the question.
That's for sure. Let us know what y'all will do in the comments.
So like,
Comment,
subscribe, and all of those good things to help us grow this channel. If you like what the Acre Boys is doing, drop us a note in the comments. If you want to come and join us in our endeavors in land buyers, clearly we have our program. Just say, I'm ready to join. We get some information over to you. Otherwise, we'll keep continuing bringing you as much as free game and content and value as we can.
That's right.
So y'all know the motto, invest in dirt.
The cleanest way to make money. Peace, y'all.